Everyone, welcome back to Rides and Drives Team Radio. I'm Harvey and I'm here with Kaz, and we just watched a really interesting and exciting qualifying session at Barber Motorsports Park for the Children's of Alabama Grand Prix. So let's get into it with a few of the people who surprised us, but maybe not in the best way possible.
Yeah. Let's talk about some of the disappointments before we get into the highlights. I can't start with anybody but Sting Ray Robb today. Oh man, we talked about him a little bit on our preview podcast. We really need Sting Ray to step it up to prove he belongs in an IndyCar. And my God, blocking Romain Grosjean on one of the hottest laps of the day was absolutely right. I know that it was partially a team mistake as well. His spotters also should have been telling him there's somebody on a flying lap behind him, but he should also have that awareness that he shouldn't be in the racing line driving slowly.
No, you have other cars, whether it's Grosjean or anyone else. There are other cars on hot laps. You need to be off the racing line and allow people to come through. That's racing 101. He was properly penalized. He's going to start at the back of the grid tomorrow, but that was a big whiff. And with every week that goes by, if I'm JHR, you've got to start wondering, what you're going to be doing with that seat, because, he biffed it at St. Pete. He, didn't look great at Phoenix. And now this again, it's just, it's so frustrating.
It feels like every weekend there's a point where I kind of slap my forehead and I just, Sting Ray.
And you hate it for the guy because he is, as we said, he's such a nice guy. And I'm sure everybody in the paddock loves him, except when he's on the
Romain
track.
Today. Romain is a fiery guy, and he was able to do the unbelievable by putting in a second lap on those tires and then bring it home and still move on.
Yeah,
but
fortunately, that was early enough in the lap that he still had enough life left in those tires to gather it up and go again.
If Romain had not been able to move forward in qualifying, he would have had some words for Sting Ray.
Yeah. By the way, using fiery as a description of Romain Grosjean.
Oh gosh, I didn't even think about it. Oh no. I'm not making light of it. That was an unbelievable moment.
There you go. So,
all right.
Okay. So I think the second one we have to talk about here today is McLaren.
Yeah. Real bad.
Where the heck are they? This is a Chevy track traditionally. Chevy engines perform well here overall, even though Alex ran away with it last year with his Honda. Chevy engines generally do pretty well on this track. McLaren, I thought they were moving forward, but everybody took a step back on that team this year, this time. They've got a lot of work to do tomorrow to maintain any semblance in our Rides and Drives team championship hunt. Right?
Yeah, I was just thinking after watching qualifiers, I've been saying the last couple of weeks, come on, McLaren, you're a top team. Why aren't you touching the podium? Now I'm thinking, I don't know that they are a top team. They might be, but when I look at them versus Meyer Shank, it's hard for me to say who I think is a more consistent, strong team.
Yeah, these guys, they need to pick it up if they're going to start scoring points. Lundgaard in 10th. Pato, their most consistent driver, starting 12th.
And Pato loves this track. He talks about it all the time. He's won here. Pato should be able to put in a better performance than starting 12th here.
Right. So let's see how those guys go. Any other disappointments on the day today for you?
Well, bad day for Will Power, obviously.
Yeah, especially after what he said earlier this week on the press conference, talking about all the confidence he had that he's ready to race for a championship, and to have a brake failure like that.
And you know what? This kind of leads me to what we're all wondering is Andretti is projecting a lot of confidence right now, but okay, a brake failure on a car, that's a really significant error. Last week, while they performed incredibly well, they made some pretty critical mistakes on pit stops, having,
Yeah.
the inability to take wheel nuts off properly is a pretty rudimentary error. I don't, I need Andretti to execute if they're going to be projecting this level of confidence, because when they are at their best, they do look like they're ready to take it to the house.
Yep.
But I don't know that they have the consistency built in to execute a perfect race. Will said last week, to beat Alex in the championship this year, what you have to do is be as close to perfect as often as possible, because he's not going to give you a lot of opportunities to pick up big points. You're going to have to
Right.
be consistently perfect. And Andretti was not that today.
No, Kirkwood starting from fifth. That's a fine starting position, gives him plenty of opportunity to move up.
Especially
Um,
considering he was using used tires for his final
right.
push lap. He
Yeah,
he's
and
he sacrificed starting position for a set of tires,
for
which
yeah, for race
is a very
strategy
valid
tomorrow.
decision to make, and makes
Right.
his fifth place start perfectly fine.
Yeah. But the rest of the team, again, I think Ericsson did okay. Made the fast 12, but unfortunately that was a bad issue for power. Is it someone's fault? Is it just one of those things? They're going to obviously debrief and see what happened. For Will, the first time he goes into a corner at speed tomorrow in warm-ups, he's going to be thinking, okay, do I have my brakes? Do I not? But that leads me into one of the bigger winners today that I want to talk about,
Hmm.
which we haven't really ever touched on, but that's IndyCar safety.
Yeah.
He went head on into a barrier at 100 miles an hour. Um, Now, granted, there was a tire wall there. There were, some soft materials between the car and the tire before the Armco. But, between that barrier, between the better design of the cars and the tubs of those cars. I mean, I remember watching Indy cars when, drivers would get their legs broken all the time in incidents like that. And then things like the Hans device that they're wearing on their helmet, that's the thing that goes under the helmet and collar. And
Hmm.
basically what it does is it protects the head from snapping forward on something
Ugh.
like that. And they showed the camera of his head, just it was all one movement. So
Hmm.
that's how Dale Earnhardt died
Yeah.
in at Daytona. He hit the wall head on. It didn't look like a spectacular crash, but the stop was so sudden that it caused that trauma. So all of these things together, we are so lucky to be watching racing now because our heroes generally don't die when bad things happen, and it used to happen every year when I was a kid.
I was thinking about that while I was, you and I were texting after watching the incident. You had mentioned that that is very similar to how Dale Earnhardt died. And I just had a really, a moment where I thought about how lucky and glad I am to be watching racing here and now, when the notion of losing willpower to a qualifying freak accident is absolutely tragic. And I don't know how I love motorsport. It must have been really challenging to go back to watching the race after something like that.
Yeah, my mentor in this business is a guy named David E. Davis Jr. He was editor and publisher of Car and Driver magazine. And in the 60s, he actually swore off Indy. He said,
Hmm.
I can't go watch these races anymore. I'm tired of watching my friends die.
Freedom and
And
Whiskey, David E. Davis. Yeah.
yeah. So and we lost him 15 years ago yesterday. So here's a toast to David E. and a man who meant a lot to me, and I got to spend a lot of time with, and I know you met him a few times as well and enjoyed the moments you got to spend with him.
Sure did.
Um,
Lucky to have
but
him.
but yeah, I mean, he back then it was such a common occurrence, and it's almost like you think about guys like AJ Foyt and Mario Andretti, and they survived it and were lucky to be alive. I've talked to other drivers of the era in other series like Derek Bell, a five-time Le Mans winner, who when he was driving the Porsche 917, this is a car that go 240 miles an hour down the Mulsanne Straight, and he said it was like I was driving a bomb with, fuel all around me. But,
Yeah.
now in almost every racing series, I mean, obviously Romain Grosjean is a great example of someone who is a huge beneficiary of the technology, the halo, all those other
Yeah.
things, the aero screen in Indy, they save lives.
Yeah.
So, good on you, IndyCar. And thankfully, we didn't lose one of our heroes
Our
today.
real heroes. Yeah, absolutely. That for me is, that's the biggest win of the day. Next up, Alex Palou, I guess. Congratulations. First pole of 2026, Alex. We knew it wasn't going to take long. He
Yeah,
always looks great here. This is a track where precision matters, and Alex is very precise. Um, I don't think he's going to run away with it by 16 seconds again this year, but he
yeah, I
looked
think,
really good.
yeah, I think there are some strong drivers not far behind him. So, the
hmm
race will be closer. But he did what he does at this track. This is his second pole in a row here. So yeah, let's call him a winner of the day. The surprise winner of the day is starting in third place on this.
I'm so excited. We had talked in our pre-race podcast about how we were hoping to see more from RLL. They'd made a bunch of big moves in the off season, but it felt like we were just seeing more of the same from them. But today we saw something fun and new from Graham. Graham Rahal looked wonderful, and we can't forget he was on the used reds for that qualifying run. He beat out two drivers on sticker reds for that
Right.
position, and now he's behind Alex and David, both excellent drivers, capable of running away. But he has that extra set of sticker tires, and that might matter toward the end of the race.
It might. It might. It'll be interesting to see how strategy plays out. I'm assuming everyone's going to start on sticker reds.
hmm
Then that next stint will either be, um, they'll go to the primaries or run if I don't have three sets of stickers, I'll probably run my use reds there. Then the third stint, same thing. You'll alternate that, and then the final stint you'll run on your sticker red. So we'll see how the strategy plays out. But the goal, for the guys who don't have three sets of stickers, is to take care of those tires and really play that out.
Yeah. And after qualifiers, Alex did speak a little bit to press about tire strategy and how that's going to play out, and also about fuel strategy. And Alex did let us know that fuel saving is not especially on a three-stop strategy, fuel saving is not really going to come into play here. He said, of course, you always want to save a little bit because you never know. And of course, sometimes one stint will be longer than another. So you might have to do a little bit of fuel saving on one stint. But for the
Yeah.
most part, we're looking at a tire strategy race, not a fuel
Right.
strategy race.
Yeah, I think if you run into, let's just say for sake of argument, there's a yellow flag with a
hmm
safety, with a pace car at lap 17, you might see people pit early.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I think you're going to see most people waiting till that 23 to 25 lap window before they start pitting. So yeah, I think we talked about RLL.
Before we move on from RLL, I want to say that while he didn't make the Fast 12, Mick Schumacher was putting in a really nice lap and definitely flirting with it toward the end. I think that this was a little bit of a glimmer of hope from him as well. So RLL as a whole, I think had a nice day at qualifiers today.
Yeah, I agree with you. I hope they can keep that for tomorrow in the race.
Yeah.
And it was interesting because Alex talked about how this track was similar to the Indy road course, where it feels like it's very close. The cars are, and you saw this in qualifying. I mean, people were missing out of the Fast 12, the Fast 6 by hundredths of a second.
Teensy
So,
little bits.
yeah, so it's very, very close racing. And Graham did very well at the Indy road course last year. So,
He did.
not it's not out of the question that he could finish well here.
Graham makes smart decisions. I think he's going to try everything he can to retain his position, and he's not going to throw it away on something stupid.
Right. I think you,
Speaking of missing out by hundredths, I think Santino Ferrucci had a great day today.
yeah.
He's starting in seventh. He missed out on the Fast 12 because of a bobble. Tiny little touch grass at the very, very end. But it was a 100th off of the Fast Six. That's great for Santino. AJ Foyt has looked a little bit lost over the last few weeks. So seeing them put this in is really nice.
I agree. I agree. I think the other person who I thought had a really good day was Marcus Armstrong. That's someone we've talked about. He wants to show flashes of brilliance
Hmm.
and as opposed to just consistency. And I texted you before the
Right
fast.
before.
Yeah, it said it's time. It's time now for him to step up, and he did. So I thought that was great.
Yeah, it was wonderful to see. I'm looking forward to watching him race tomorrow. I'll definitely have my eye on him.
Yeah, so overall, I thought a really good qualifying. I was kind of surprised that we went back to the old qualifying format because I thought the single lap shootout was really good in Arlington, and I was hoping we would see if that would they would do that again on this race on a different type of circuit to see if it held up because I would love to. I just feel like that's more exciting than the 6 minute, you know, open race, right?
Yeah, I think it is. And I think partially, look, Fox, I don't love the way you put the delta only for the people who are below the cutoff. I don't love the
Right.
graphics, and I think that that is part of why I don't like watching particularly the Fast Six. But also, it was just a fun and interesting watching experience. It did
Yeah.
give us more time with each and every sponsor.
Well,
I still have questions about, okay, how fair are we if the track is better for people on warmer tires and but we can work around that and figure out ways to mitigate it. So
yeah, and I just think um, the way it worked out today, it was mostly everyone just did one lap anyway,
yeah,
right? Because those new reds fell off so much on their
yeah,
second lap that you know Pelot held it until he didn't go out until there were 3 minutes left
yeah.
on the clock.
And he came
So,
in after that lap. He said, "This is my lap. It's pretty good."
well, they tried one more, and halfway through it, he bailed and
Yeah.
said, "Nope, let's we got the lap we need."
And I would say if I had to pick the last big winner of the day today, it's Barber. It's Barber Motorsports Complex. This place lived up to my expectations entirely throughout practice and qualifiers, and I'm even more excited for the race than I was before.
Yeah, I saw a funny little video on Instagram today from IndyCar where they had all the drivers describe Barber in one word, and like the first five were like roller coaster, roller coaster, roller coaster, and I can't remember who it was. Oh, it was Sting Ray Robb. He said, "Did someone say roller coaster already?" He said, "Oh, okay." Fast, and but it was that kind of thing where people were talking about how hilly it is, how fun it is, how fast it is. You know, someone said undulating, which I like.
Ooh, I like that. That's a good one. I'll have to go watch this video. I want to know who said undulating.
So it was that was fun, but and between the track delivering the entertainment we want on track, it just looks great on TV.
Yeah, it
I love
does.
how they call it the Augusta National of IndyCar. I've been to the Masters and I've walked those grounds, and I can only imagine the quality of the grounds, the way they show it off on TV, that at how good Barber looks. So, like I said, I can't wait to get down there next year.
Yeah, it looked just beautiful. And the fans who were there looked like they were having a great time. The setup looks wonderful. Um, yeah, second that. We'll be heading down there next year, camping. Way
Sounds
to go.
sounds good to me. So let's move in and play our game.
Yeah, let's wrap it up with victory lane predictions. Just a quick reminder to everybody where we're standing currently. Harvey is in the lead with a big old 7 points off of a really great week last week. And I'm still sitting at 3, which is fine because we've got a lot of season left to go.
Yes, we
It is
do.
your week to pick first. So let's get right into the podium. Harvey, who do you have on step 3?
Step three, I have a guy who didn't look his best today, but looked plenty good enough, and that's Kyle Kirkwood.
Mm-hmm. Kyle
I, you
Kirkwood
know,
is always a great bet for a podium. And
yeah,
again, he saved a set of tires, and
right.
that really could come into play toward the end of the race. Um, for the second week in a row, I'm going to go Marcus Armstrong for the third step of the podium. I flashes of brilliance. He showed us one. I'm going to bet that he's got another.
Sounds good. I can certainly see him moving up to that position. And I can see some other people in that top six maybe not finishing as high as they're starting.
Yeah.
Although for my second pick, I'm going to go with David Malukas.
All right, great.
I want to see him finish on the podium.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Malukas when discussing who had a good day, but obviously he did. He was the only Chevy driver in the Fast Six, finishing right behind Alex Palou and looking comfortable doing it. And then he talked afterward about how he intentionally wanted to be aggressive in the Fast Six and made
Yeah.
a setup call on his own that didn't wind up paying off for him. That
Yeah,
he's going to back off
he
the setup a little bit, and he'll
yeah, he
be
said he moved it one notch too far. So,
so
yeah.
I applaud him for taking that risk. And even though it wasn't what he wanted, he still qualified second. That's great. I think that's a really good bet.
Yeah, he's
Um,
going to be pushing Alex throughout the race.
Pretty sure you're going to pick Alex Palou to win, so I'm going to put him on step 2.
Always a smart bet. And yes, I am going to pick Alex to win this race. Until someone beats him at Barber, he's the champion of Barber. So,
Yeah, he just looks so good here, and you know he's not going to fall prey to any of the little traps that have maybe been eating up some other drivers. You and I have some parallel thinking here. I also really like Malukas today, so I'm
mhm.
going to put him winning because even though I think Alex will, I think David's going to hang on to a really high position. And on a personal note, I also just want it for him. Feel like I become more and more of a fan of his every week, both watching him drive and watching him talk. So.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's he's I like it. I like the fact that he has delivered when given the opportunity in this seat
Hmm.
so far.
Yeah, he really
Um,
has.
and because there were questions about replacing willpower with this kid.
That's a lot
And
of pressure.
yeah, and it's a great story. We'll talk more about Malukas on another podcast, but I think he's a driver we need to really keep our eye on as the season goes on.
Yeah, I think so too.
All right, now we go into the biggest mover of the day. And
Yeah.
since I get to pick first, who do you think I'm going to take?
Well, obviously it's Sting Ray Robb, right?
Uh,
Ah.
yeah, no. Sorry, Stingray.
Oh,
You are
buddy.
starting last, and I'll be shocked if you gain 5 positions in this
Yeah.
race. So I'll take willpower starting 23rd. Uh, or I'm sorry, he's starting third from the bottom,
Yeah, he's starting 23rd.
23rd. Yep. So I'll take willpower, and hopefully he can move up a bunch of places and salvage this race to help him and his team stay at the top of the championship.
That is a great choice. It is really the obvious one. Willpower starting at the back of the grid just means more camera work, watching Willpower make passes, and I'm looking forward to seeing it. I think I'm gonna go with Renus VK. He's looked fast all weekend. He did come very close to making the Fast 12, didn't quite get there. But I think that everything we've seen from him so far this weekend suggests he can put a good race together. Not as
Yeah.
much growth potential as willpower. Obviously, he's starting at 16, but I think that's a good choice. And
Yeah.
I like this contrast between VK and Stingray.
Yeah. I,
I keep my eye on it all the time, and VK continues to impress.
I think so. And I think that's a good pick. Alex even mentioned, he was surprised that VK didn't make the Fast 12
Yeah, he said
in the
VK didn't make it. He looks so fast.
yeah. So I think that's a good call. So now we go to biggest bust. And again, this isn't something we want to have happen.
It's
This
never
is
personal.
It's never personal. So sorry, Graham, you're my pick for biggest bust. I can see
Yeah,
you finishing very high, but until you do, I'm gonna take you to fall to your typical 15th, 16th finishing position.
I if you hadn't, I would have done it and I would have given the exact same explanation. I'm very, very happy to see a little bit of growth and a little glimmer of hope at RLL, but until you prove it, I'm not buying it.
Right.
I'll rent it, but I'm not buying it. I'm also going to pick a driver who I'd really love to see hold on to his position, but I just don't think it's likely. I'm going to go with Romain. Um,
Uh-huh.
I think he's overqualified the car.
Yep.
Plain and simple. He's a fast racer and he loves that track. So it's entirely possible I am wrong, but I don't think so.
Yeah.
All right,
So
and now we get to pick our plot twist where we get to make a prediction and gamble. So Harvey, what do you think is going to happen that's going to shake up the race?
what's going to happen that is going to shake up the race? And this is um this is one that I'm really interested to see if it happens because I think we have three really strong rookie drivers,
Okay.
and I think all three of them will finish in the top 15.
Oh, cool. That would be a really fun day.
I mean, they have a long way to go. Hauger starting 24th, Kaio in 21st, and Mick in 20th. But I think they're all good enough, and certainly Kaio and Mick have shown us enough at times to put
And
that faith there.
this is a track that should suit both of them as well. This is
Yeah.
something that's a little bit more in their comfort zone.
So I'm
So,
taking a flyer on Hauger on that, but let's see how they go. So
yeah,
that's
I
my plot twist is a good rookie day.
and how many points are you willing to gamble on this plot
I'm
twist?
gambling 2 points on that one. I'm going to be a little conservative.
All right, sounds good. I am going to I as much as I've talked today about how those sticker reds could make a difference at the end of the race, I am going to say that by the time people get to their set of used reds, and some people are, the track is going to be rubbered in just fine. And the temperatures are going to be low enough that it's not going to make a big difference. I'm going to say that those who took a gamble on holding that extra sticker set, it is not going to pay off. So that means I think Kyle Kirkwood and Graham Rahal will not pass anybody who is currently above them. I
Oh,
guess that's how we measure it. I'm saying it's
yeah,
not going to come into play, but if we have to assign a measurement,
right.
um,
So they won't finish higher than their current positions,
yeah.
right? So Graham won't finish higher than third, and
And
Kyle
Kirkwood will
will
not
not
finish
finish
higher
higher
than
than
fifth.
fifth. Okay.
And I feel strongly enough about this that I am. See, the problem is Kyle, even if the strategy doesn't pay off, Kyle is still a good enough driver that he could do it. But I feel strongly enough about it, and I'm also behind enough in the points that I want to gamble three.
Okay. So you've got that all set up, and we can see how that plays out tomorrow. I think regardless of how these predictions go, I think we're going to see a great race tomorrow. This track is wide. This track is fast. The drivers love it. They seem to have confidence. They're building confidence in their cars. I expect this to be just, nonstop action for the entirety of the race.
I think it's going to be another really high quality entry into what's already been a really high quality season. Let's take a moment to acknowledge that we've had four different pole sitters. We've had three different race winners, three different championship leaders, and there's every chance we're going to see another swing toward a fourth driver tomorrow. Um, that's just great. This is exactly what we come to IndyCar for.
Right. So, let's the one thing I do hope happens tomorrow
Mm,
is that Fox times the pit stops and commercial breaks correctly. So
please.
let's hope for that. But otherwise, I'm looking forward to seeing a great race, and I'm looking forward to talking to you, Kaz, tomorrow after the race about the fantastic action we've just witnessed.
Yeah, can't wait to chat with you about it. Guys, please tune into the podcast tomorrow after the race. Check out our socials. He is Harvey_drives. I'm Fast Car Kaz, and you can find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok, and
And
YouTube,
if
of course.
Yes, and if you like this podcast, please subscribe and drop us a comment because all that stuff really helps with the algorithms and will help show our podcast to more and more people. We're growing. We want to grow more so that everyone can join us on this ride and become closer to the action in IndyCar.
Yeah, we can get so close, guys. Thanks, everybody,
Yes,
so
we
much.
can because we just got our credentials for the Indy 500. So we'll be trackside all week for qualifying for all the big important days and race day. So
I did a
yeah.
little bragging about that at the bar last night. I won't lie.
Yeah, so nice to have our credentials lined up for that. I'll probably be at the Sancio Grand Prix as well. That'll probably be the next one we're live. We won't be making it out to Long Beach, unfortunately. And then after that, we'll do a string between Indy, Detroit, Road America, Nashville, and others. So we'll have more and more on track action for you. But in the meantime, we get lots of access thanks to IndyCar. Um, remotely, and we'll share all that knowledge and everything we learn with you.
Yeah, thanks, guys, so much for joining us, and we will see you tomorrow after the race.
Have a great one, everybody, and drive safe.